Hello everyone, welcome to Compiler Design class. Today we are going to discuss about storage organization. How do we store the variables and how are the non-local variables can be accessed and what are the methods that we can store the variables, that these things we'll be discussing in this session. So why do we require storage organization? How do we organize the content? The memory is initially, like during the execution of the source program, while we are trying to execute a source program, okay, so when we are trying to execute a source program, there are certain variables will also be executed and saved in a specific area, and it can be represented only by their address. Those variables will be required or important for the code generation. For example, some variables will be required for the code generation, okay, and those variables will not be represented directly by their address only. It can be represented to the code generation, correct? So the address of these variables are depend on the organization of the memory, where it is getting saved and how it can be accessed, and what are the methods that these things that we will be seeing, and how it will be the memory is been organizing it. As we discussed earlier, we know that compile time is something like when a program is given, you are compiling it and then you are executing it. Yes. So compile time will be in while you're compiling, it will tell you how much of memory that you required, or how many bytes of memory that you require, whether it is contiguous or sequence memory or continuous memory. It will be telling you. So according to which, after compilation, it knows what is the size of the program and it knows what is the memory is being required, and it will be informing to the operating system. Okay, the operating system will be allocating a contiguous memory, that is a sequence of memories will be allocated from so and so address to so and so address. So while we are compiling, while we are going to execute it, we know from which memory location to which memory location our program is going to be executed. Yes. So the execution time, that it will be loaded into the operating system, and the operating system will start executing the program, and whichever is being compiled, and whichever the compiled data has been saved in some other represented using the address, it will be taking it while it is being, excuse me, while it is being executing, and then it will be allocate and deallocate, depends on the program that we are requiring. Any program that you want to execute, that it will be loaded into the operating system, and then it will be informed to the operating system, it will be loaded into the memory, it starts executing, and then it return back the information. So the time of that you require, it will load into the memory, and it at the time of it completes, it deallocates it from the memory. That is what the general procedure is, right? So during this time, the memory that is being allocated during the execution time, you call it as an runtime storage organization. So runtime storage organization can be some subdivided into certain things. The What are the memories that will be subdivided are code, static data, stack, and heap. This is the bottommost and this is the topmost. Heap will be at the topmost and code will be at the bottommost. These are the codes. The target codes, the generator targets code will be saved in the code, and it will be, we know that we have generated, we know what is the size of it, and we know like what it has been done, so we know the exact thing. So static size will be determined or given to the code, which is the target generated target codes will be saved here. And the data are the variables, the static variables which we found out in the source program, and those variables will be saved here. Whatever the variables that we are going to use it in our program, all the variables will be saved here with the data, and that will also be static because it has already been initialized, or it has been already there in the program. So we know what are the data, or we know what are the variables that has been there in the program. That is also static. one stack and more or less it's same, but stack will be like saving the data, or what it is also called as a control stack. It is used to manage the active procedure. For example, I'll show you. It is also called as control stack C, or runtime stack is used to keep track of live procedure activation. For example, I have a program. I am executing that program. If I wanted to complete that program, I have to execute another program. So the stack will be loading the activation of that procedure. Okay, the called procedure, it will be loaded and then it starts executing. So the control will be passed to the another program, not in the program which has started. Okay, once it has been, the program which has started will be halted, and then control will be passing to the next one, right? And once it is being done, the result of which will be saved, and again where it has halt, from that specific line or from that specific address, it starts executing and then it completes the program. This is the control stack. This is how it will be saving the program. Okay, that is the procedure whose execution have not been completed. Okay, a procedure name is pushed onto the stack when it is called, and it is popped when it is written. Yes, so into the stack, when we wanted to execute something, we are calling the procedure, that is procedure call. We are putting it into the stack, we are executing it, and then we are returning back to the where it is been, it will be popped out of it. So you call it as activation begin and activation end. You call it as information needed by single execution of a procedure is managed using an activation record or frames. You call it as, we will be recording everything as an activation record, because when it is going for the procedure, next procedure name, when I have to complete the procedure A, I have to execute procedure B. Okay, so what it will do, start of the procedure A, it will, the starting address of the procedure A, it will encounter what are the variables of the procedure A it will have, what are the parameters of the procedures that will be saved, and what are the what is the status of this procedure, is it completed or still executing, what is the local variables, and anything temporary variable is being used, those information, and what are the optional things that we can like calling to a different procedure, is it calling a procedure B? Yes, so that link has to be given. Those information will be given if it is calling the other procedure. For example, I have procedure B, so that will also be included in the link. So while it is being executing, it will call the next procedure, and the activation record for that B will be created. Okay, local variable, name of the procedure, address of starting address of that procedure B, and ending address of that procedure B, and when it is completed, how long it has been executed, and then control will be passing to procedure A, where it has halted, it starts executing. That is the work of stack. So the stack will be like, it executes it, and once it is done, it will emit it, or it will leave it free. The space will be free. So let me show you an example of stack or activation record. I'll just tell you here. I have it. See, these are the activation records that we will be having. Return value, that is temporaries. What are the temporary variables that is there in the program that will be included? Local data stores local data of the called procedures. So if I'm going to call the B procedure, what are the local data, local variables that I have? That one. And machine status, that is stores the machine status such as registers, program counter, etc. PC, what is the next instruction that has to be executed, and when it is started, that is address of that specific, whether it is executed or not, those status will be there. And control link will be stores the address of activation record of the caller procedure. That is, when the caller is being, the caller procedure's address will be saved. Then who is calling? Procedure A is calling procedure B, right? So procedure A's address will be saved in the activation record of procedure B. Okay, who called me? the person, so and so person called me, that information that I should be entering. An access link stores the information of data which is outside the local scope. So, which is not local scope is something which is inside it, inside the procedure B. But I wanted the data which is not inside B, but I am going to get it from some other scope. So that information also I should be putting it here in the access link. Access link is something used whenever we have a non-local data. Okay, when we are going to access a non-local data, I will explain you that non-local data later in this slide. But this access link will be mostly used to access the non-local data. So it will be like a link. That link will be gone to another procedure of the what do you say, another procedural call, and then it takes it, because local data is something only for procedure B you have a data. If I want a data or a variable from procedure A, that is non-local, right? So I will be taking it from that with the help of an access link. That information also I should be mentioning it. Actual parameter, formal parameter, you would have studied in call by reference, call by value, that you would have studied. Yes, I have also included in this slide. When it is required, I'll forward you that also. So if you already studied, so I'm just skipping this topic, actual parameter and formal parameter. I mean, that call by value, call by reference, those you would have studied. So that information also will be saved here. What is the actual parameter and what is the formal parameters which is being used here? That is also will be included. And return value. What is the result of that specific procedure? That is also being saved. This is the activation record that will be there in every procedure. If it's for main separate activation record, inside main I have a function call. So for that function call I have a separate activation record, and inside that function call another function is being called, and for that another activation record is being called. See here, inside main I have a function A which is calling A function. Function A is defined here. Inside, if I wanted to execute my A, I have to execute my B. So main and A will be there. So if I wanted to execute my B, I have to execute my C. So if I have to execute C only, I'll be able to execute B, and B has executed, then A has executed, then the main will be able to complete it. C. So before going to A, activation record of main is created. When A is called, activation record of A is created. Correct. The moment it is being called, A activation record is created. Before going to B, activation record of main and A in stack. So in stack, main and A information is there, but we are going to B now. Before going to C, activation record of main and B is pushed in stack. So now it is being pushed and then it starts execute. This is how the activation record or the procedures will be working in the storage allocation. So the storage allocation techniques are three types of storage allocations: static storage allocation, stack storage allocation, and heap storage allocation. So what is heap? We have discussed a little bit of stack. What is heap? Heap is also same like stack. The only difference is going to be, see, heap is the topmost memory. In the topmost, heap is in the top and code is at the bottom. Heap can increase or decrease according to it is dynamic. It can heap and stack is dynamic. It can increase and decrease depending upon the requirement of a program. Okay, it will allocate a memory in heap. It starts executing. That is, the operating system will allocate it in the heap, and it starts executing. Once it is being done, it will deallocate it to the free space pool. Here you call it as free space pool, you call it as. In the free space pool, it will be deallocating and not to the operating system. It will not inform the operating system stating that I am free. No, it will not see. So later, if I wanted to take off that data, it will always be available in heap. But in stack, the data will not be available once it is being deallocated. Okay, like A variable is being declared for that specific procedure and that cannot be used if the procedure is being not being used. Correct? But here in heap, that will be there till we delete manually that complete program. If you are going to delete, only then it will inform the operating system. Until or unless it will not be informing the operating system, it will be led to the free space pool, wherein the free space pool will tell you. So what if the heap requires it because it is holding the content, but as it is telling that it is free, what it will do is, there it takes the virtual memory that you would have studied in operating system, virtual memory concept. Yes, so that time the virtual memory concept will be taken and the memory will be given to the heap. Okay, this is what about techniques of stack and heap. That is what is there in this. Uh, that is what I mentioned in subsystem that allocates and deallocates space with a heap. Keep tracks of all free space and heap storage at all times. Serves as an interface between the application program and the operating system. Okay. And here allocation produces chunk of contiguous heap memory of the requested size. As I told you, if no chunk of the needed size is available, it increases the heap storage and getting consecutive bytes of virtual memory from the OS. I told you, if it is not required, the only disadvantages in heap will be fragmentation. You would have studied that in OS, that is internal and external fragmentation. Yes. So while you reading this, you just have a view of what is internal and external fragmentation. If it is not contiguous, if the heap is full, and if it is like here and there, if it is having space, then it will be moving the fragment at the end, making it available at the end, and it will produce it as a contiguous, that is continuous or sequence. That one. Deallocation returns deallocation space to the pool of free space. It can reuse the space, right? Typically does not return the memory to the OS even if the usage drops. So that is what I've mentioned you before. So what is the advantage of using this is space efficiency. We'll be able to have, like, since we are using a virtual memory, we think space is available, so space will be efficient and program will be executing faster and low overheads. We will not face any problems when we are trying to execute any program. I have mentioned that dynamic allocation, call by value, call by reference that you've studied in first year. You can just have a go. You can just go through those topics so that you will understand how a memory will be, how the content will be saved. Then this is also we discussed access to non-local names. Okay, access to non-local names will be just a moment. Okay, access to non-local names we'll discuss in another class. So till now, till then, that I guess you would have understood what was happening in the storage allocation, how it is getting saved, how it is getting allocated in the operating system, and how it gets started. This is what the procedure is. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you have any doubt, please let me know by leaving a comment. Thank you.